Now, the next thing I'm going to be adding to our setup is going to be the particles. So I'm going to call this merge lights. And let's bring in the particles. I'm going to create a merge particles. And this is going to be a sub import. And I'm going to grab the particles using the same path here. Or actually, we do have a file. So instead of a sub import, I'm going to use a sub create. Inside, I'll create a file. And I'll just copy this path. Control V. Now we have our particles. Let me hit D, go into the geometry and make sure we're displaying it as pixels. Let's go up. So let's make sure we're OpenGL at this point. And we'll definitely want to add this. Let me establish a structure here. So core. Let's put this inside the core as well. It's going to be particles. Sub create core particles. Okay, so now we have our core particles. We can render them like this. Shift R. There they are. Too opaque at this point. Not enough. I want to make sure they have some emissive element to them and also play with the opacity of them. So Shift R, I'm going to create a material library. We'll place it under the same structure as before, so we'll add it to the core materials. So let's create a principal shader. I'm going to call this core particles. Change the base color to white. We'll use point color. No need for reflectivity. Let's go down to the emissive and the emission. We also want to use point color. Let's start with a really low intensity, 0.1. We have a lot of them, and we're going to be adding some, lowering the opacity, 0.4. Let's see how this looks. So I'm going to go to first make sure that it's actually assigned. So let's assign a material. And let's, here on the assigned material, let's grab the core particles and the core particles here. So here you'll see we have the artifact, the core, which has geometry, materials, particles. In the materials, we have the core emissive and the core particles. So now it's applied. Let's see if we can have a look at this. So karma. And as you can see, now we have less opacity. They're more kind of translucent effect and also somewhat emissive. And we can check on another frame, another shape. And I think it's working well. I actually like around this. I think this is a good balance. So we have our light, we have our particles, and I think overall it's pretty much ready. The only element that's missing is the volumetric effect that will also give it a pretty cool touch. So let's move on to that on the next lesson.